I'm on the steps of the New York Supreme Court where laws are enforced. On this show, we'll be looking back on a road trip to Washington, D.C., where federal laws are written by Congress. This political rally took place July of 2008 when Senate and House Democratic women, along with Lilly Ledbetter, called for Congress to pass fair pay legislation, equal pay for equal work without regard to gender. Lilly Ledbetter sued Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company over pay discrimination, which launched a court case and eventually led to the passage of the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act of 2009, which became the first act of Congress signed into law by President Barack Obama. And now, let's go to Washington, D.C.
Good morning, America! Good morning, the women of America. Good morning to the men who want fairness in our law books and in our family checkbooks. Last month, the Democratic women in the Senate launched something we called Checklist for Change, a list of must-do priorities that we want to do before the end of this congressional session. It focuses on, yes, the macro issues like world peace, but it focuses on the macaroni and cheese issues like getting rid of wage discrimination in our country. Is it about gender? Yes, but it is also about agenda. Wage discrimination exists. We are here today to give a wake-up call to American women to say wage discrimination exists in the United States of America. Women continue to earn 77 cents for every dollar that our male counterparts make. But most of all, know that yes, we did pass a law in the 1960s outlining it, but every decade they invent a new loophole that enables them to discriminate. We want to close the wage gap. We want to close the loophole. And there's no other person that exemplifies it more than our very dear friend, Lilly Ledbetter. Lilly is going to tell you her own story, how she, after working for years for a company in Alabama, she found out she was being discriminated against in her paycheck and in her pension. She took it all the way up to the Supreme Court. But oh no, you know this Supreme Court. They told her, yes, Lilly, there was wage discrimination. Yes, Lilly, you will have less money in your pension, but you didn't file it in time. That you just didn't file it on time. Well, we think it's about time that we close the Lilly Ledbetter loophole.
Equal pay for equal work is often about daily survival for millions of American families. Moms rising up. Good for you. Moms rising. Think of this. The unemployment rate for women workers has increased more rapidly than for men. Women are more likely to have subprime mortgages and be affected by the foreclosure crisis. Many low-wage workers are single mothers with no other source of support for their families, and closing the pay disparity could strengthen their households. We owe them that. We women in Congress say to those women, you have partners in the Congress of the United States.
Pay equity is not just another benefit to be bargained for or bargained away. It is part of something bigger, part of a movement in which we all have a role, giving women the power to gain economic security for themselves and for their families.
It seems almost hard to believe that so many years later we are here talking about an issue that we passed a law to try to remedy all those decades ago. But the reality is that women still only earn 70 cents on the dollar, and African American and Latino women earn even less than that. That's because we're not enforcing the law on the book. That is because attitudes still persist, that as you heard Speaker Pelosi recite from some of what was said about Lilly Ledbetter, that somehow women don't deserve the same rights the same opportunities as men. This is not just a women's issue, this is a family issue. Every woman who is shortchanged in her paycheck shortchanges her family. If she is sharing responsibilities financially with a husband, that's not fair to him either. If she's a single mom, it's really tough. The Paycheck Fairness Act puts more teeth into the enforcement provisions, makes it very clear that asking what your colleagues at work make is not a firing offense. Because part of the reason it is difficult to bring these cases is people don't know. Lilly Ledbetter was in effect punished for not knowing what her male counterparts made. And once she did find out, you have to think about whether you're going to sue your company. But she did courageously, and she won. And the Supreme Court said, well, you shoulda, coulda, woulda known before. Well, that's not the way the real world works. And so we're going to pass the Lilly Ledbetter Equal Pay Act and the Paycheck Fairness Act. And to the young women who are here, I hope you realize that this is part of your ongoing responsibility, that this is a challenge that is passed on to you. And once we pass this law, then we have to make sure it's enforced. And it's also important that young women believe you should negotiate for the pay and benefits you deserve. Too many young women do not do that.
About 28 years ago, I went to work as a supervisor at the Goodyear tire plant in Gadsden, Alabama. And toward the end of my career, I began to suspect that I wasn't getting paid as much as the men doing similar jobs. Of course, it was hard to be sure because pay levels was a big secret. But an anonymous person left me a piece of paper in my mailbox at work one day comparing what I was paid with 3 male managers, what they were getting paid. And that's when I knew I'd been the victim of pay discrimination for a few decades. It turns out that I was earning 70 to 85% of what my male colleagues were getting. I started at a lower salary, and they gave me lower raises over and over and over again. As you can imagine, over the years, those differences added up.
This is what Abigail Adams said to John when they were busy writing the Constitution. If you leave the ladies out, which they did, we will ferment our own revolution. Today, we are calling for a new American revolution. But in order to do it, we've got to fight. So women of America, square your shoulders. Put your lipstick on. Suit up. And let's go fight this revolution.
We want to pass in this Senate the Lilly Ledbetter Act and bring it, pass it and correct this loophole that allows people to continue discriminating against women in pay. She worked for Goodyear for many, many years, 20 years. She did not know she was being discriminated against. And then the court held if you didn't bring a suit within 180 days, you couldn't bring a suit. Well, discrimination is discrimination, whether it's 180 days or 20 years. And it's outrageous. It needs to change.
We need all their support in trying to get the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act bill passed because it means so much to so many families, so many working mothers that are out there trying to support their children, their families, children in college, pay the gas bills, whatever. We need to get support. Call the senators and get the word out to support the bill so we can get it through the Senate and get it on to be signed.
We're all from the Feminist Majority, and today was just amazing getting to see all of these inspirational, hardworking women who are not giving up in the face of so many obstacles. And this is just a reminder of how important fair pay legislation is and how important it is for women to be strong, to refuse to back down, to negotiate, and it's to demand more money when we do equal work. And this is just, as young feminists, as young women, these women are our heroes, and they really inspire us.
I hear one for fairness, ladies.